Hello, I'm Dr. Jeff Harris. I'm a psychologist in New Mexico in the southwestern part of the United States. This is my colleague Karunakar Rao from Bangalore, India. This is a video demonstration for Key Strategies Training Lesson 7, using behavioral strategies to change actions. In the last video demonstration, the Karunakar is going to be portraying a client named Raju, who has social anxiety. In the last session, we identified a sequence where when approached with when Raju has a social situation, he often feels anxiety. He engages in avoidance behaviors. Last week, we talked about how he immediately feels relief of the anxiety, but then he feels guilt that he didn't engage. So this week, we're going to be talking about behavior change. Since last time we talked about exploring behaviors. So we hope you've watched the didactic video for lesson 7. Today, just as a reminder, we're using behavioral activation as a behavior change strategy. Martel and his colleagues say that we encourage an experimental approach that focuses on trying a behavior and observing the outcome. And so that's what we're going to be doing today. Raju is going to be talking about a behavior that he tried, and we're going to observe the outcome. In the didactic video for lesson 7, we talked about 4 different skills. Behavioral strategy 5, experimenting with new actions. Behavioral strategy 6, improving skills. Behavioral strategy 7, generalizing effective actions. And behavioral strategy 8, assessing behavioral change and impact. So I'm going to be trying to do some of these skills, particularly focusing on 5, 6, and 7. And hopefully after Karunakar and I do the role play, we'll come back to this slide and ask you what strategies you observed me use in this demonstration. So we're going to do the role play now. So Raju, last week we talked about your social anxiety and how when you are facing a social situation, you often feel anxiety. One of the ways you deal with the anxiety is to avoid the social situation. And we talked about how the immediate impact of the avoidance behavior is feeling relief, that the anxiety goes down, but then you feel guilty that you avoided that. And so we were going to do, what we agreed to do was to try an experiment where you would, instead of avoiding a social situation, you would approach or engage. And we kind of talked about we kind of looked a little bit at a hierarchy of what social situations or what people would be less anxiety provoking, and you were going to try to have a conversation with one of your colleagues at work. Were you able to do that, Raju?
Yeah, I will try to do it.
And how did it go?
Um, I think I choose some less one close. I mean, a friend of mine, colleague of mine, uh, with whom I am little bit comfortable.
Okay. And what's your friend and colleague's name?
His name is Ravi.
Ravi. And tell me about when did you talk to Ravi this week?
During the workplace, I talked to him, and he greeted me first, and then usually I greet back him, but this time I tried to uh, interact more, like uh, asking about him and his um, nature of work, and what his plans for the next weekend. So I tried to speak a little bit more deliberately. I tried to do that.
So, so last time we talked about how you feel anxious and leads to avoidance. I'm curious, once you decided that you were going to try and have a longer conversation with Ravi and he greeted you, did you feel anxious before the conversation?
Before conversation, I was conscious and I was feeling bit anxious because I was planning to do it.
So the idea that I'm going to talk was a little made you nervous. Once you started the conversation, did your anxiety go up or down?
Initially, it was more, but as he was responding very uh, in a friendly manner, then gradually anxiety reduced bit by bit.
So I think that that's important for us to realize that if the person you're talking to, if they respond in a friendly manner, that your anxiety will decrease. So your fear that they won't like you or they might tease you. We talked, about how you've had experiences, in high school, in middle school about being teased that makes you fearful. It's good to know that once you start engaging, that anxiety is likely to decrease.
Yes, yes.
So you said that you
Because
asked him about work and about his plans for the weekend. Can you remember one of the questions that you asked Ravi about work?
yeah, I asked him about his work, whether these days the workload that he is undergoing is more or less, um, because workload in the workplace changes from time to time. I just asked, inquired about him whether going light or going hectic these days.
Okay. And how did he respond to your questions about workload and are you busy this time of year? Is it a little less so? How did that go?
He said that we are going to close the financial year in India. Financial year ends at the end of month of March, 31st March. So it is February. He said he's busy these days of closing the accounts and all that. He is bit more busy than other time.
Okay. And then you also asked him about plans for the weekend. How did he respond to your questions about plans for the weekend?
Then he said, yeah, he had plans, but he said sometimes he may be working at the weekends also because he had to complete the task of closing the financial year.
Yeah, so that tied in. Well, I usually like to do this, but because we're at the end of the financial year, I might have to work this weekend. And then you asked him some questions about work. Is he busier because of the end of the financial year? Does he have plans for the weekend? Did Ravi respond by asking you some questions?
Then he asked, what about my work in my department? I said, I'm not in the finance department, so my workload is as usual. It is not hectic, especially nowadays. And he also asked me about my plans of weekend.
So I think that that's important to know that that's the way many social conversations go, that there's a sense of reciprocity. If I ask you about, are you busy? The person will say, how about you? Are you busy? And are you doing this weekend? No, how about you? That so I think that that's something to think about, that in many conversations there's that reciprocity, and that that's something that you can expect, and if you understand that that's how conversations go, that might help decrease your anxiety.
I understood. I noticed that he was feeling good, that I inquired about his workload and about his weekend. He
What made
shared
you
at length.
how I'm I'm curious, Raju, how could you tell that that made him feel good?
Uh, I could feel that because he was giving the answers at length, and he was sharing more in detail. Uh, so I thought he was very comfortable sharing many things.
So your observations were that he was providing more details, and that's something to notice too, that some people will want to share more details and some people won't. Some people won't have time for conversation, but by him lingering or providing more details, that's an indication that he's enjoying the conversation. Did you notice anything about his nonverbals? Did he smile? Did he seem relaxed?
Yeah, he smiled. He smiled during the conversation now and then he came closer while talking, and uh, he was also paying attention to me.
How could you tell he
Eye
was
con
paying attention to you?
He was looking right into my face, and I could see curiosity in his face.
Okay, so there was eye contact, there was warmth in his facial expression. So all of these are really good. So one of the things I want to notice is that you asked him about two different things. One was about work, and then one was more about plans for the weekend. And I think that that's, you know, what I like about that is that you started in what you have in common because you work at the same company, but then you went into another area. I want to think about if you were to have another conversation with somebody, um, let's add to your repertoire of things to talk about. So one about work is asking about, are you busier this time of year? So that's a good question. Let's add to that. Can you think of one other question you could ask a colleague at work or anyone about their work that would expand your options?
Other options are like um, I think I can ask about their family, uh, and then about their uh, I mean, career plans.
Yeah. So in the area of work, asking about career plans, is a nice kind of long-term question, like how long have you been at this company? What do you think you'll stay here? You
Yeah,
know,
yeah, exactly.
so I think that it would be good. I'm going to encourage you to write down a list of questions that you can use in different social situations. And you can start with some of the questions that you asked Ravi, like, are you busy this time of year? But you can add to that, like, how long have you worked here? Do you is this the field that you've always wanted to work in? And so I think asking about career plans then is a good area. And then on the more personal side, you started with what are your plans for the weekend, but you also now you're adding the idea of that asking people about their family.
Yeah.
And what are some questions you can ask about your family?
So, about family, I would like to ask about the educational pursuits of their children and what they are doing and how they are studying and uh, yeah. So where do they live actually?
Yeah. And I think those are good questions. Do you live with your family? What do your kids like to do? Most if people have kids, most parents like to talk about their kids and then that's something, a connection there. So I think it would be good as you practice talking to more people, both, socially and at work, in your family, and trying to lengthen conversations and trying to go deeper. I think it would be good to have a list of kind of standard questions that you can practice, and that I think having some of those written down ahead of time would be helpful just to do that. And then the other thing is to branch out. And so you had a conversation with Ravi because he was someone you knew. Are there in the next week, are there any other people at work colleagues or work friends that you would like to try and have a longer conversation with?
I think I would speak again. I have conversation again with Ravi, and along with him, I can try uh, one more person who is less known to me.
And what's the other colleague's name that you don't know quite as well?
Other colleague's name is Suraj.
Say it again for me.
Suraj. Suraj.
Tourage.
Suraj.
Okay. So
And
I think yes. So I'm going to encourage you to try and have a conversation with Ravi again, to have another conversation with his other colleague, and you know, as we are building up your confidence, building up your repertoire of behaviors, trying to lengthen those conversations, trying to increase their frequency. I think I want you to think about how to reward yourself. So when you talk to Ravi, how did you feel after the conversation with Ravi?
Can you hear me, Jeff?
Yeah, I can hear you fine. I can hear you a little better now.
Yeah. Sorry, my audio, there is a problem. You asked, I could not get because in the
Okay.
meantime, audio.
So back to the role play, Raju. With After you talked to Ravi and had a good conversation, how did you feel? Did you feel proud of making that connection?
Yeah, initially I was anxious actually,
Mhm.
but towards the end, I felt happy and kind of satisfied.
I want you to think about that happy, satisfied feeling as a reward. You did something difficult, you did something that you usually avoid. And as a result, I want you to say, oh, I did something difficult. I'm expanding my skills, and I want you to use that happy, satisfied feeling as kind of an internal reward for doing something that you're trying to improve yourself.
Yes.
So
Because I could not, imagine that I could do it that easy.
in
It was not that easy, that difficult also.
So I'm doing something, but it's not as difficult as I thought. So that's a good thing to remember. But I want you to use those satisfied, happy feelings as an internal reward. Is there an external reward you want to give yourself for engaging in more social behaviors? Do you want to buy yourself a snack or listen to some music or do something special to reward yourself for this behavior change?
Yes, I can give some small gift to me as a token that to appreciate myself. Like I can purchase a small gift for me, or can have an ice cream, or
Me, I would choose ice cream, but you might be different, but having
mm,
so I think it would be good to have that internal reward of feeling happy and satisfied, but also if you do something difficult, it's good to do it, buy yourself a small gift like an ice cream. So what I want you to do this week is to try and have another conversation with Ravi, to have a conversation with your other colleague. And each time you do that, I want you to kind of notice the skills that work. I want you to notice that the anxiety decreases over time, and then I want you to reward yourself for trying that hard. So let's keep trying somebody expanding your social engagement, and then we'll continue to talk about how that's going.
I will do it. I will do it.
Okay, thank you. So we're going to go back to the slides. And so I want you to think about what strategies you saw me engaging in. I want you to think about, did I encourage Raju to experiment with new actions? Did I do things to help Raju improve his skills? And then did I do things to help Raju generalize his effective actions to new areas? And I think I tried to do a little bit of all three of those. The behavioral strategy 8 is a little later at the end of the process, assessing behavioral change and impact. But I want you to think about specific things I may have done to experiment with new actions, to improve skills, and to generalize effective actions. So thank you for watching this video demonstration of key strategies, lesson 7, changing actions. And I hope you'll watch the next video on lesson 8, which will be about making choices about where to focus, whether to focus on thoughts or feelings or actions.